Woodshop. Today we're going to be doing safety on the jointer. That would be this tool over here. We're going to learn some of the safe features of it, and then we're also going to learn how to make a face joint and an edge joint, and I'll demonstrate those momentarily. Okay. Now the whole tool right here is called the jointer. It's a big tool and it's designed for one thing, and that's to create one straight line. So for instance, on this board here, or I could make one straight, try to make both straight lines with it. They'll both come out straight, but they may not be parallel, and they could be shifted any which way. But they'll both be straight, but they won't be parallel. So on this machine, we're going to make only one edge cut or one face cut, okay? And it's just part of squaring up a board. Now the jointer consists of several parts. It's got an in-feed table, an out-feed table, and they're separated by this little cutter right here in the middle. It's got a fence that we're going to use as a guide, and it's got the blade guard just like all the other tools. Okay? So it's a fairly simple tool. The board will be run across the in-feed table, it will hit the cutter, and then it will end up on the out-feed table with a perfectly straight line. Okay? The biggest safety rules we need to follow on this thing are the size of the board. The board has to have a minimum length of 12 inches. So from one end to the other, minimum length 12 inches. It's got to have a minimum width of the size of the fence. On this one, it's about 4.5 inches. It can go smaller, but you'll need your instructor's permission to do some cut smaller. Okay? So 12 inches in length, and then the same height as the fence. Anything lower than that is going to need my permission. Okay? We'll start off with doing an edge joint. And an edge joint is going to make this line straight here. As we can see, it's writing on it, it's real rough, and we're going to straighten this thing up. Now, when we edge joint, we want to look for if there's any nails, any type of metal, staples, screws, if there's any knots in there, anything that's going to cause a problem, we want to take a look at first before we start. In this case, there's nothing on here. So this one would be fine to joint. So what we're going to do is I'm going to draw a squiggle line on this thing. And I'm just trying to cover the whole side of it, just with some pencil lead. Okay? And now I'm going to run this through the jointer. I put that side down on the table, and when I run this through, I want to have my left hand slightly higher than the guard, but slightly lower than the top of the fence. If I push too high, it pushes my board over, and if I push too low, it puts my hand close to the cutter. So in this case, we want a nice middle pressure. I also want my pressure going back against the back wall. I do not want it going into the cutter, okay? My backhand is going to be back here. I've got some fingers looped on the fence for safety, and this hand is going to be pushing straight this way. Again, I don't want to be pushing down into the cutter, because if something happens, this board will disappear and my hand will go into the cutter. Okay? So I've drawn my squiggle line, and I'm going to run this through and just do an edge joint. Right now I'm in a weird position. See how I'm kind of leaned over? I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I have this right where it's supposed to be, and I want to walk with it all the way through until this blade guard comes to a close. When the blade guard's closed, then I can go ahead and pick my piece up. Now I've run it through twice, and it took off all of my pencil line. So I know that this is a good straight edge right now. Okay? So again, keep upright, keep nice and close to it. Make it a safe experience for you when you're using this tool. Finger pressure is towards the back wall and towards the front wall. Keep it away from the cutter. Okay? So that's how we do an edge joint. Now we'll try to do a face joint. And a face joint's going to be done the same way, but it's going to be cut on one face. So again, I'll just do these pencil marks, covering the whole board with pencil. Okay? And now I'm going to put this through for a face joint. For the face joint, we want to use a special type of push stick. It's just got a little foot on the back of it that'll catch it and keep my fingers out of the way. I really wouldn't want to have my fingers down here on this cutter this close, just in case something happened. I especially wouldn't want this with my thumb hanging out the back, pushing it through very close to the cutter. So make sure when you're face joining, you use one of these special design push sticks for it. Okay? Catch the foot on the end there, and then we'll go ahead and put this through. Now in practice, I would want to do it like this. Come all the way through till it closes. Now, on this one, since I haven't run it through twice, we'll see that there's some pencil lead here, and then their pencil is gone on the edges. So what that tells me is that it's cut all along this edge here, all along this edge or this edge, but it's left this spot in the middle here. So I'm going to have to run it through until all of the pencil lead disappears. So I'll do another pass through. And then with a couple extra passes, we see the pencil lead is all gone. So that's the safe way to use the jointer.